What is good, YouTube? And today we're going to be talking all about Lilium, the current LD SSR Apex unit that is going to be running in the banner. Now, there's a lot of drama over her saying that she's very weak and that she's the worst LD SSR, not even LD SSR, but SSR in the game. But I'm here to tell you today that she is actually very, very strong, especially in PvP. And after testing her out in PvE in a lot of areas of content, I actually found that she's actually decent in a lot of bosses, which I'll be showcasing slowly on my channel. But today, we're mostly going to be talking about the PvP aspect of the game. So this is my Lilium build. You can see that she is going to be on a Wall of Silence setup. And it really works with her kit because she's really good as a revenge killer slash control counter slash controller. And you can see that she is very annoying to play against, and opponents will have to actually draft around her correctly. If they draft too heavily into CC, or if they don't think about the Lilium pick, she can actually just ruin your day because of the fact that she can solo a lot of the teams out there. So the reason why she's so good is because of her S1 passive. Everyone knows about it. She's immune to control and turn meter effects. So basically, this just makes her automatically a god tier pick into control. And even though in the lower ranks, they don't really play control, most people play traditional cleave. In the higher ranks, once you start getting to Mythic and RTA, you're going to start seeing a lot more control characters. And let me tell you, control is the most frustrating thing to play against in the game. You have things like Kazuya the Reverie, who can S3 and sleep your entire team, and then basically solo control your team with her S1 because, I don't know why, this is a 2-turn sleep, super OP that also pushes back turn meter, just a very oppressive unit. You also have things like an Obol, who on Codex can S3 twice and then stun your entire team while doing a ton of damage. He also can dispel 2 buffs from your team, so Bulwark is pretty useless. You also have things such as Kraken. You can see I'm not a control player because I don't have them built. Kraken can also double freeze your team with his S3, and it's just really frustrating to deal with. And there's not a lot of good characters that can counter these control teams. You have something like a Doki Doki or even a Ling Luo. These are the 2 best ones, but what happens if one gets banned and the other gets picked away? Control players do like to play Doki Doki, and they still like to play Ling Luo because they like to pick it away. So for that reason, Lilium comes in and is a very good answer to control. And she's a damage dealer that counters control, which makes it even better because she can actually kill units, while Doki Doki and Ling Luo, even though they can cleanse your team, they don't really kill anything, right? So they really rely on their teammates. But Lilium as a standalone pick counters that playstyle, which already makes her amazing because, in my opinion, control is the most frustrating. Actually, I don't even think it's my own opinion. If you guys have ever went against a control team, you guys know what I'm talking about. You can't play the game for like 10 minutes, it's super frustrating, and you're just watching units die. The worst thing that can happen in a video game is just not being able to play, and that's what control is, and Lilium just completely counters that playstyle, which is great. Also, she has built-in lifesteal. This doesn't really matter too much, but in a lot of matchups, especially against like control, they still do whittle you down, and this makes it so that she literally cannot die against those low damage teams. Next, we have her S3, so this is like the big ability that everyone doesn't really seem to fully understand. They think it's like a one-shot nuke on Bruisers, but if you think about it, if a character that's immune to all control and turn meter, which includes silence by the way, if she can one-shot tanks, this unit would be by far the best character in the game by a large margin. First picked like every game and just like super OP. So surprise, surprise, she actually doesn't one-shot tanks, which makes her extremely good. But this ability is very good at one-shotting squishy characters. So anything not on Bloodbath, this will pretty much just one-shot. If you land a defense break on a Bloodbath character that's very tanky, you can still one-shot them. And the fact that this ignores shields is insane in the current meta because you have things like Fushu, you have Artisan shields, you just have a lot of random shields that you can actually ignore and just get through them. Also, the seal is going to be nice in longer fights because you pretty much set up for your next S3 to kill characters, which makes it so that this actually ramps very quickly. And the second S3 is going to be the scariest one against tankier characters. And then of course we have our S2. This is like a stun. If you execute with it, you stun everyone. This is mostly going to be good against mostly control teams. Against tankier teams, doesn't really matter too much because they'll have a way to deal with the stun. But against control teams, it's amazing because even if you don't kill with this S2, you can stun a key control character, and this will allow you to have some breathing room so your team can actually take a turn. Or if you end up killing with this, you'll just stun the entire enemy team. So Lilium is actually a very good PvP character. I'd rate her in like the A+ tier, pushing S tier I think. I don't want to say S tier yet because it's only been like 2 or 3 days, right? We're still testing. But from what I've seen so far, testing her in PvP, she looks very, very strong. And even though you can't just blindly pick her, first pick her like a Lily and stuff like that, in certain situations, she is amazing. And I think, these characters are actually always just very good to have on your roster because it makes it so that you are way more flexible in draft and you don't really have to worry about getting countered by a specific playstyle. And because ban protection exists in this game already, it makes it so much harder to pick control against Lilium, which makes it so that if you're like a turn 2 Bruiser player like me, playing like Tiamat and like Ling Lo, Lilium is such a good addition because you counter the playstyle that hard counters you, which is control. So yeah, that's why Lilium is so good in PvP. So this is the build I have her on. There's a lot of different builds you can do. It really depends. I know that people also have tried her as a cleaver and found a lot of success, putting her at like 300 speed. But for me, I found that this setup is going to be great for just countering most playstyles. So you want to run her on Bloodbath, and then the secondary matrices, it's really up to you and what your shell has. But Bloodbath is very good because it makes it so that you can't die early on into the fight. She's actually pretty squishy, so Bloodbath makes her pretty tanky. I have mine pretty slow, but that's going to be for a reason when we look at her shell and why it's okay. But mostly you just put her on Bloodbath and just full damage right side pieces, and you will be okay. Having some bulk is also very good on her because you're running her in a tankier setup. Now for speed, I do want to raise my speed, which I eventually will do, but we're going to talk about that later. Let's actually look at the shell. So you can see my shell's passives right away are not even optimized, and she still is doing amazing. And I think the best shell for her, in my opinion, is Wall of Silence. Some people like to run her on Gigabyte, and cleavers like to run her on Count. And I think people are testing her out on like Lighthouse, but I don't think the Lighthouse build is that great. I tried her on like 6 different combinations of Lighthouse, doesn't seem that good to me. But Wall of Silence is a really underrated shell. The reason is because you get put into a Void form at the start of battle, and this Void form makes you take less AoE damage, you are untargetable, and you get effect resist. So it's actually a very broken buff. So you're actually able to live through a lot of openers. You can survive through like Heinrich Revelation Cleave. You can survive through 2 AoE cleaves at the beginning on this shell with Bloodbath, which is great, which is why me being slower is okay. Usually you want to be a little bit faster than this, but with this shell, you're a-okay. And if you're worried about getting controlled, which is the big problem with being slow, like I said, Lilium is immune to control. So being slow is fine as long as you can live. And after every 4 turns, you also enter another Void State for 2 turns. So the second Void State, when it procs, it is insanely broken. The first one is just to survive the opener, but once you get to the second one, it's so broken because you get 2 turns of it. Even 1 turn is crazy, but 2 turns of it is insane. It basically allows you to cycle your cooldowns fully, and you also get increased attack. And this is very good because it'll actually start stacking with the Etheria effect. So you're going to start ending up like one-shotting characters. So very, very good shell on her. I think this is like my favorite setup. I wouldn't say it's the best setup by far, but I think it's my favorite setup. And there's a lot of setups you can actually play her on, which make her great. I think this one works the best for me though. But yeah, you can see like my shell passives aren't even optimized. I'm missing about 8% final damage. I'm missing 10% attack. I'm even overcapped on crit, and I'm even missing a lattice, and I only have 1 dupe. A lot of people are actually putting more dupes into her because they're finding out she's pretty good. So I am missing out on a lot of damage, but for now, this works for me, and she is a very good character for PvP, especially once you start getting into the higher end. Now, I won't lie, in the early and mid-game stages of PvP, if you're climbing in like, for example, like gold or platinum, I don't think she'll be that great for you, because most of the time people aren't really playing CC characters. But once you start climbing, if you are serious about PvP and you want to actually go for the rewards for RTA, Lilium is going to be a great option while being serviceable and actually pretty decent in PvE, so you can use her there as well. But yeah, those are my not final thoughts. I'll probably make another video on Lilium a little bit more into the future, but after testing her, she seems pretty good in PvP. Let me know in the comments down below what you guys think about her, and please don't just talk about PvE saying she's bad. Yes, I understand, some characters will outperform her in PvE on some bosses, but she's still usable and actually decent in some like Rengokutsu and Aurora. And in PvP, which is the main focal point of her, she is a very good character. And honestly, having a very good PvP character that's usable in PvE is always a plus for me. But yeah, thank you for watching, guys. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next video.